welcome back to EMEA Masters here in the summer of 2023. I'm Initialized and I'm joined by none other than the mighty Georgia, otherwise known as Trouble Inc. How are you doing, my fine friend?
I'm doing great. It's great to be on EMEA Masters again. Starting the first cast, of mine with you. It's always a pleasure to work with you, Initialized. There were 3 absolute banger games. We already had 6 games. 4 of them I think have been upsets as well. Like Carmen Corp has been losing. GTZ has won 2 of them as well. Portuguese team is top of the Group A. What is going on?
Portugal Caralho, that's the way it is. And the natives are winning. That's all I'm caring about as well. The NLC boys are doing well as well. Den Voxney and the lads doing an exceptional job over there as far as I can tell. Not sure how that third game goes, but hey, that's the way it is. But I think right now, Georgia, we ought to look into our 4th game of the day. Because on paper, this was supposed to be the flagship match, supposed to be the 2 top teams from the groups. And maybe that still will be the case, but right now, one of them is reeling and the other one is kind of looking to make sure they stay down in the dirt. We're starting off, of course, with the DenizBank Istanbul Wildcats, who are looking pretty damn hot on our reigning champions.
Yeah, and if I had a sponsor to slap on this matchup for a matchup of the day, it would be that one, Bisons versus Istanbul Wildcats. This roster was the exact same roster with the addition right now of Ferret in the jungle that won your EMEA Masters back in 2023 spring. Full 3 Turkish players plus the 2 Korean imports took EMEA Masters 2023 by storm. Particularly my eye falls straight on to Destroy because he brought a very particular type of pull back in spring. He brought a lot of AP carries in the top lane, and even though right now they seem like the norm, you know, your Rumbles, your Gwen stop, fine, fair enough, everyone's picking them. Back in spring, it wasn't the case. It was tank and bruiser meta. So this guy brought a new flair, but also showcased how he can switch it around through the entire tournament and play the tanks, played the bruisers, played the Nars, played the fighters. He's pretty much good at everything.
Exactly that. And then on the other side, of course, it's Bisons, who had an incredible regular season, had an incredible start to playoffs, and then kind of choked it in finals. And honestly, kind of choked it in the mid-game in that last one versus, of course, the Portuguese representatives. And the reason we were bringing up Destroy in part was because the opposite him is going to be Mirwin, who pulled out the Aurelia, was looking really good and pulling off some incredible plays, but could not convert it into the win.
Yeah, and coming from the Superliga, they had a pretty dominant regular season. I think they went something like 13-5. And even though the big beat Movistar once, then they fall into lower bracket, and Movistar came back to bite them on the lower bottom. But yeah, focusing on to Megwin right here. He's going to have a
Is that the term for a lower bracket run back? A lower bottom bite?
A lower bottom bite.
That's I love it. That's
right here. He's also a guy that really likes to play his carries. He can bring out the Aatroxes, the Aurelias, all of these weird things in the top lane, as well as the Karmas. If you feel like you want to play something more tanky in the top lane, Karma does pretty well into this. Also creates a lot of pressure, supports your mid lane who plays a lot of these melee AD type of champions as well. But yeah, I feel like there was a big hole left with Destroy in the first game. And if Mirwin is one of his carries and he's on his day, he can definitely take advantage of that in that particular matchup.
We'll be definitely keeping our eyes there in draft for sure. But next up, production's giving the heads, of course, is the group's standings. And this is important because look who's in #1 right now, baby. That is GTZ at 2-0.
I mean, okay, I just want to create a little bit of context on why we're surprised that a Portuguese team is leading a group at EMEA Masters. The last time we saw a Portuguese org in groups was 2019 summer.
That's mad.
That was 4 years ago. And collectively throughout the years up to now, they haven't necessarily done the best. Yes, they've made it into play-ins. Yes, they've made it into playoffs or play-ins, but that's usually where they would flop and not be able to actually get into groups. But at this point, not only is it great to see a Portuguese team, but they're doing absolutely fantastic. Taking down Bisons and taking down Superliga's #2 and Ultraliga's #1 is not a small feat. And right now, we were just chilling here and chatting, right? We're like, hey, they're going to have to play their last game of the day versus Wildcats. Let's start creating a little bit of narrative and stakes. Hey, what if they go 0-2 on the day and then they have to face the former EMEA Masters champions, right? Well, they might be fighting them for first. But you guys are going to have to stay tuned because that's our second game. We have another one first.
It is indeed, and obviously coming up next for this game in general, what it means is that Wildcats need to win this to remain tied first, and if Bisons loses, they're going to end the day. But what, going to end the day, be in the middle of the day at 0-2 with the possibility of even ending up 0-3 if things go horribly wrong. Like, you do not want that when you've only got a very short amount of time to start playing. You can hear with the highlights, Bao certainly popped off to begin with, but it wasn't like Anonymous didn't throw a few of their own punches. It just kind of all fell apart towards the mid and late game as Ferret and Kofta in particular went absolutely off.
I feel like when Elromir was here back in spring, he had a phenomenal duo performance together with Kofte, of course, but bringing Ferret back, the guy who's been a Wildcat since 2019, has played with Kofte for so long, won the MVP in the Turkish league as well. It feels like you're going back home, right? And honestly, I feel like if the meta didn't suit them back in spring and they did win by bringing out their own flair, right now, this is their meta to show up and show off. On the other hand side, though, for Bisons, it feels like every single team that has ever come out of the Superliga, except for Heretics last year, it's all blood, sweat, and tears. It's a lot of fighting, it's a lot of skirmishing. And talking about that top lane matchup that we're going to be seeing, Merwin on a 1v2?
Oh, well, there's the blood and the sweat and the tears were coming from GTZ in the early game because Merwin was getting away with absolute murder. But then, unfortunately, as the mid game rolled on, it was GTZ that were managing to consistently out. Teamfight Random was really struggling on the Yone, and the 5v5s were just not clean. And Bisons, yeah, the early game was good. A bit of a contrast to their regular season from what we've been hearing from a lot of the LVP guys, that it was the mid game that let them down here against their kind of standard of play.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the 1-3-1 compositions that we do see with a double AD that can also split push later on become a little bit difficult to execute, especially when teams in the ERLs like to force fights around objectives a lot. If you're late, if you miss your objectives, if you lose your timers, you're pretty much going to lose the fights later on as well when the other team is way too far ahead and shut you down on that 1-3-1 composition that you want to play. Now, of course, going into this game, Wildcats are known for their team fighting, so I would like to see Bisons take a step back and actually play for this team fighting, because when we're talking about skill, these guys have it. These guys have showcased in the Superliga. Now they need to pull back themselves, a little bit, release themselves, if you will, and just play their strong suit, which is team fighting.
Yeah, and you can see some of the bans already coming through generally towards that jungle focus. You see the Ivern away from No Main makes a lot of sense. This is a guy, when I started casting in 2020, we're starting out in the UKEL, so grassroots UK scene. Managed to get up to tier 1 buy from Division 2 of LVP earlier in the year, comes into Bisons, gets rookie of the split, is now at EMEA Masters, and you know, he is known for some of those slightly trickier junglers in terms of the way you can path and be clever with them. I think getting rid of the Rel, getting rid of the Ivern, two of those bigger facilitating junglers who can make a bit of a mess of those team fights, a bit of a mess of those funny flank angles, makes a lot of sense from the Wildcats. But on the other side for Bisons, getting rid of Destroy's Rumble, because how damn strong the champion is in general, makes a lot of sense to me.
Please don't make the same mistake that was made by Orbit early on. Ban the Jace. Like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I'm just gonna give you real simple plain stats of Kofte on Jace. 2023. EMEA Masters, Spring, 100% win rate. You gave him the champ, he won you the game. Don't make the same mistake, Bisons. Just ban the Jace out. You don't need the headache, you know?
I mean, like, those are plain stats, are they, George? I hate to see what are exciting stats for you.
Simple.
100% win rate, by the way. 5k individual gold lead at some point in the last game as well. Absolutely monster on that champion. But what means is the Jace is open, the Maokai is first picked. And what do Bisons have in response? Because I tell you what, Maokai Jace is a known busted combo. You do not want to give that over. Bisons are kind of debating something a bit interesting here. I know it's a hover, so I'm hesitant to call it out. I feel like Nami would not be the pick I was expecting, so we'll wait and see what they decide to lock in, because I don't think they've made quite the decision yet. It's the Rakan first.
So I'm wondering right here,
just pick up the Jace.
I was just thinking, I wonder right here if you want to go with the Xayah Rakan, and Random has a back pocket right here, maybe something like a melee champion that can actually brute force fights onto the Jace, even though Jace is really good at keeping distance. If you do have a very nice jungle that can set you up for ganks, it's not going to be the case. It's going to be more of a... I'm assuming Bisons were hearing us when we're like, you know what, take a step back, play the front to back. They have two really great pieces to play that front to back team fight. A lot of engage and disengage with the Rakan and the Azir as well. But I'm worried, man. Maokai and Jace were the OG duo that Wildcats used to tear apart EMEA Masters in spring. And now you have the choice. You can put that Tristana bot lane as well and lock in the Jace too. And this is S++ tier all across the board for Wildcats.
So yeah, I mean, they've got the option of locking the Jace here and removing the flex, or keeping the Tristana as a flex, but then let's be real, I think Bisons may well ban that in the second phase. It would be a forced ban. So they've got a couple options. I completely agree. You wonder what they're going to lock in here. Are you expecting something like, that would be unexpected, and I'm going to wait on that before it gets locked in. So they're debating a couple things now. That's perhaps a bit more expected, but it means no Jace despite our expectations considering how good Kofta is on the champion. Instead, we're going to have the Tristana, which is still an AD mid with a lot of shove. They've got the Xayah locked in. It's a takeaway, of course, from the Rakan. So I think that all still makes some sense to me.
Yeah, and mind you, the Tristana still remains a flex. If there's an AD melee mid for random, you can very well easily abuse that either with the Jace or the Tristana as well. The Jarvan getting locked in right here, it's one of my personal favorite champions because even though there is a lot of mobility, you know, with the Maokai and the Tristana, they can get out of the Cataclysm pretty heavily. And also, if you want to jump onto the Xayah, the feathers lock you into your own Cataclysm. It also forces the enemy team to pick more mobile champions, which means it kind of breaks the composition a little bit apart if you can't find the right champions for the comp you want to play. Now, moving on to the second set of bans, I'd like to see Destroys Gwen banned away. He has been one of the champions that he does resort to if he wants to play towards that carry potential towards the top side of the map. And I do see a lot of AD across the board. So I think AP top is what remains in the cards for him.
Definitely. And of course, we kind of got our eyes a little bit on that matchup because both of these players are certainly capable of bringing out the spice, be that in terms of weird picks or just straight up carry picks. And we see where that all levels up. At the minute, it's been relatively standard with perhaps the exception of the Jarvan not being super common. Of course, we saw Time pull that earlier and do a great job with it. And of course, patches have changed a little bit. So maybe my expectations are a little off. But right now, it's a fair amount of engagement Bisons. But I don't know how easy it will be to lock down the double AD carries.
Visualize.
Leona's banned. Yes,
Can I test your memory?
Go for it. That's going to be bad. I'm going to fail this test.
There was one particular support that Paris absolutely terrorized Summoner's Rift with. Last EMEA Masters.
Yes.
He goes beep, he goes boop, he pulls, and he was one of the champions that actually got banned against him because it was so obnoxious to play Blitzcrank. And right here, you've locked in Ashe in the bot lane, extremely immobile. Azir can also go full susceptible to these hooks as well. Also, my bad, guys. Tristana, of course, is no longer a flex because Xayah has been locked in. I just realized. My bad on that one. But I would honestly
try.
But I would honestly not be surprised to see Blitzcrank picked here by Paris. It just fits the bill so well.
You got the Maokai set up for an easy book as well. Yeah.
You can lock down Rakan as well with the silence. He cannot jump away. I think it fits. It fits the composition pretty well.
That would definitely be a pretty solid option. I completely agree. They've already got a lot of like the double AD carry. They've got the Bruiser frontline with the Aatrox alongside the Maokai. He's going to set up some lockdown. Milio would be a little bit more defensive, but you've got double AD carries and arguably an Aatrox as well to be keeping healthy and alive and using the extended rage on. So I see the angle here, even if it offers a little less pick potential, but instead of Destroy getting his hands on it, it will instead be Milwin who gets that. He's going to be on the Gwen this time. He's going to be the AP threat, and you can see for Bisons, they hit 3 items on an Ashe, an Azir, a Gwen. They'll certainly be matching the double AD carries in terms of scaling.
And it's actually very hype that we get a fighter versus fighter top lane. We kind of set up Destroy going into Merwin. Destroy did not have the best first game right here with Wildcats, but he is on the Aatrox, something that he does tend to pick when he resorts away from his AP picks, usually the Aatrox or the now that he's going to resort to. And of course, Merwin is picking one of the main champions to Destroy away from him in the likes of Gwen. So I'd love to see how this matchup is going to go up in the top lane. Again, every time there's a Gwen in the top lane and you see that Ignite teleport, you're expecting to see a lot of action. So I do want to see where these junglers are going to end up after the first clear. Setting up an Aatrox or a Gwen for success really early on could be of pivotal importance for both.
Yeah, when I did get in touch with some of the Wildcats coaching staff, and they were saying, look, you know, for all the offer Bao gets a lot of folks in the bot side alongside Paris for how flashy and consistently they've been at carrying. The other person who's often become kind of the unsung hero is Ferret, and he's perhaps not unsung, because of course, as you said, he got the MVP. But, you know, he is incredibly good. Yeah, he was a sung hero, but he's perhaps in the sense that he's not necessarily the tip of the spear. He's not the carry. He is the facilitator.
It's a Maokai meta.
Yeah, it's true. Maybe what we can do is have a level 1 flash forced on Paris. Nice grand entrance from Ascuri to get in there and force that early summoner. Good level 1 from Bisons, and we'll see whether they can roll that one forwards as the game goes on.
Yeah, Yeah, and honestly, you can say that there was a flash burn from Oscura as well, but the difference is that Rakan is a very slippery champion. Level 2 or level 3, you have up to 3 dashes as well with your W and your double E that you get. So Paris right here, exactly. Paris right here is a very, very mobile, is on a very mobile champion, the Milio, which means that I wouldn't be surprised to see a red buff straight into a bot lane gank potentially from No Name.
There is that level 1 ward just thrown down on the entrance to the Raptor pit, and you can see Ferret's trying to stay off vision for as long as they can, but really wants to start these Raptors. Just because, of course, he's not going to get a leash at this point, so they'll know exactly where Ferret is. Of course, No Name as well is on vision, so both junglers pathing will be spotted out. And of course, when both junglers are relatively creative when it comes to finding their way to impact their lanes, that can be very important for both teams. And we're left with otherwise standard early game to work with.
Come on, No Name, you know you want the Malrang special.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the Malrang special.
I was about to join you on that journey.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, of course, Malrang, core jungler, he usually does a buff. Well, he used to do a buff on the job and straight into a gank to any lane. Usually it would be that bot lane. It's not going to be the case here from No Name. Prioritizes getting that first
little less
clear.
psychopathic.
Yeah, a little less. A little more stable for the early game, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, understandably so. You've actually got quite a lot of scaling here, don't you? You're kind of looking at level 6s on particularly the side of Bisons. You're looking at, you got the Ash Arrow, there's the Grand Entrance, there's the Cataclysm. You're kind of going through that and going, yeah, they all sound pretty good to have. They're not quite there yet. Little number for you here as well, as Ferret does look to try and go for a quick invade. Of course, knowing where the Jarvan starter is going to throw down a little sapling, but I don't know whether he's going to go for anything more there. Was maybe looking at a bot lane moment. Not going to happen. But what I was going to say is, Georgia, do you have any idea what Kofta's win rate on Tristana is this year?
Ooh, okay. I don't know that one, but I'm going to take a wild guess and say 88%.
You're way off. It's 100%.
I was only 12% away. That's not way off.
It's just, I just
Come
wanted to
on,
be mean.
man.
But yeah, again, it's another champion that he's been absolutely monstrous on.
I was
Only
like,
had the
come on,
5
he
games
must have
on it.
lost one game, you know?
Nope.
Nope.
5-0 currently the year round on that one. Of course, we were saying, well, where's the Jace? Well, perhaps another champion that does similar-ish things in terms of being shoving AD mid lane. That makes some sense on that one.
Now, what's very important right here is that No Name is going to get spotted on this ward. Now, why this is very important is because he's already cleared his jungler. He currently has no job on the map other than taking the Skullcrab that has just spawned. No job on the map for a jungler means that he's going to be camping a lane or potentially looking to either mirror a gank or create a gank for themselves. And currently, No Name is looking towards that bot side of the map. We did mention how Paris does not have flash since that level 1 incident, so he would be a pretty easy target to lock down, especially with the slows coming from Ashe and the knockup from Rakan. Of course, that's not going to be the case again because No Name got spotted, but a very cheeky invade right here as Maokai is still clearing towards the top side of his map. He's going to put that Jarvan ahead on the map.
And remember, of course, last game that we saw from Bisons, they had a really good early game. They played it really well. They managed to get themselves in a position where it was looking like they had everything in the palm of their hands, and it all fell apart in the mid-game, which again...
5-0 Kai'Sa, 11 minutes in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was looking really good. Legolas was popping off, and then, unfortunately, you hit the mid-game, and it all started to slip away. I mean, it is going to be, right now, though, a bit of a quieter one. Both teams playing lanes pretty safely outside, of course, that level 1 with the flashes being blown. There it is towards his top side, though, and maybe you could look at the Gwen dive, but this might be a bit bold.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be much shenanigans happening in terms of diving anything yet. But let me talk to you a little bit about the history of histories of both of these regions, right? Because before our time, there was K-Corp that dominated back-to-back EMEA Masters, and the LFL and the French teams have been so strong for the longest time ever. And then suddenly, Heretics made Superliga rise to the top back in 2022 summer, right? And we're like, hey, this might be the start of a new era with Superliga rising back up. They've reclaimed their former glory, if you will. But that's not going to be the case because TCL joined us in spring 2023 and they might want to be creating their own. And of course, currently in this game that we're watching is going to be the Superliga versus the TCL. Only 1 win difference between them. And mind you, they're both chasing the Portuguese powerhouses for the first spot right here. So they need all the W's they can get as early on as you can.
completely agree. And literally, as you were talking about it, Legolas was forced to burn the Ghost there by Bao and Paris, just straight up laning and finding some really good trades and forcing that out because of the damage thrown down onto the Ashe, and that's a nice little advantage. But again, it has just been these small summer advantages. No one has died. We're not seeing any crazy gold leads. It's a couple hundred to Wildcats right now, but not by any significant margin. Maybe one of the teams will be looking at a Dragon over the next minute or so, and Herald's in too, but that kind of like feels like maybe that'll be our first part of action, because neither jungler's really found an ingress into a lane yet.
Yeah, and honestly, when Azir is level 6, you definitely don't want to be sneaking into the small choke points, the ramps towards the river, getting shuffled. So I think the Dragon is going to play right here in terms of one jungler is going to be playing towards the top side of the map, possibly trying to gank for that Aatrox Gwen lane, and then the other one's going to sneak a Dragon in return towards the bot side of the map. Now, currently, Destroy is trying to shove in his wave, and No Name is not going to be there in time to stop him, which means you have a free Aatrox on the map. He's going to be heading down towards the river. If they want to, they could sneak in, but currently Aatrox is sitting on a lot of gold, hasn't backed yet, and the Wen did, so he's going to get his back quickly so he doesn't have to burn the teleport.
Seems to be the plan. Does manage to get that one out, of course. With teleports unleashing at 10 minutes the minute, you can maybe look to impact the rest of the map with that teleport magic. And Random just missed the shuffle. That might give Kofti a bit more license to jump in more aggressively the next time his rocket jumps up.
Honestly, that could also be your bell to go towards a Dragon setup. You see how the bot lane has shoved in that lane? You do have quite a hefty timer before that Azir ultimate is back up to try and go and play around the Dragon area. You're shoving in the mid, you've already shoved bot, your jungler is towards the bot side of the map as well. So you can use him and help set up for the first Dragon, which is also going to be an Infernal. Honestly, these two teams don't seem to have a lot of interest in setting up early for these objectives. It's going to be a very, very slow early. Both have immense scaling on both sides. And again, we asked for Bisons to play a little bit of a slower game, focus a little bit on the front to back, focus a little bit more on team fights. So far, so good.
Yeah, exactly. And I did want to call out, I saw Koff just hanging over the wall, seeing whether Random might shove a little bit too far. But then, of course, Skirmishes turned up on a ward and he decided to get it and just pushed away. But I was like, I appreciate the positioning there. Shuffles forward as Random gets a good chunk onto the Tristana. And even without the ultimate, it's managed to put the damage down. But now in the bot lane, we've seen the Ghost come out of Bao, who sees an angle. There's still a flash available from Legolas. Remember, there's still the ult to think about doing as well. There's a flash away. No Name is coming down, but with ult available from Bao, nothing more to be found. Summoner pop from Legolas in trade for the Ghost and the heal inside the Wildcats.
And here comes the first Dragon as well. It's going to be the handshake trade. Ferret towards the top side of the map, gets the Reef Herald. It's going to be a Dragon for the Bisons early on. Again, usually you want to be starting to stack these Dragons, but you want to be playing for team fights later on and setting up the more Dragons that you have, of course, and you get to soul point first. That means you can force a fight if you so want to. Ferret right here has a different idea, putting down that Rift Herald to give early gold plating to your Tristana or the Aatrox and getting them ahead. This could be your weapon to when the next Dragon spawns. The extra gold onto your carries. Kofte in a lot of trouble.
Oh, it is indeed. There's the ultimate forced out of Ferret. And actually gets a flash out of Random. He's now trying to recall. He's in the Raptor pit. No way is he getting away with this. The cheeky thumbs up to end it as well.
That was so well played, because he started walking towards the right wall, so he would have technically flashed into the river bush, but he didn't. He flashed over to the Raptors. Great play right there from Random, but that's also a flash as well as an ultimate down for your Azir. So the next time you overextend, it might also mean a death. That means that Random, so far so good. 300 gold behind a Tristana that usually dominates the early laning phase is absolutely fine if you're playing Azir. Oh, arrow.
There's the engage. Paris gets stunned. Doesn't have a breath of life to work with right now. Does at the wall. That's it, finally burned, and he does go down for first blood to No Name. It's my boy from the UKAL. Great little gank there into the jungle. Gets that one down, and Bauer's not really going to have much to say about that one.
Yeah, and it's actually really dangerous for Bao to stay towards that bot side of the map right now, because the Jarvan is still around. Oscure on the Rakan will be putting down some wards, but it's very dangerous to stay underneath your tower as a Xayah, because you could potentially get dived. Instead, they're going to take a lot of control on the bot quadrant of Ferret's jungle and allow Legolas to crash in the wave.
And honestly, considering how, to be frank, Wildcats were getting the better of a lot of the trades in the bot lane, largely having a lot of the pressure to work with, getting that moment to get into the jungle, to catching Paris out, feels pretty good, and it brings the gold back to evenish for all that it wasn't all that far apart. And here we go again. It's just a really nice engage.
Honestly, it was that ward on the left side of your screens that actually spots Paris walking towards that red buff area, and No Name does not hesitate. You saw that instantly they pulled the trigger with Legolas on the arrow as well. Very poetic, Legolas and arrow.
I know, right?
Sure. And then they ended up getting the kill onto the Milio, as well as his flash. Again, a very, very immobile champion which plays on spacing out opponents, and you're playing against a Jarvan who's very, very good at closing these spaces down. So right now, Wildcats a little bit on the back foot right here. No Name has been playing a fantastic game. The cheeky invade early on, making sure that he gets the first dragon for his team, the first kill as well. And now he's also sticking around. He's gonna get spotted here.
Yeah, gets on the wrong end of some demonic embrace empowered sapling, so chunked a little bit by that, but does kind of ward off a potential shove with the Herald and inventory there from Ferret. And it is going to be a difficult game in some ways for No Name, with all the amount of CC and disengage the Wildcats have. And you can see why he's gone for the Gore Drink in this game alongside the Moss Stomper. He's going to need all the survivability he can get, because he could well be on a difficult journey if he goes in for engages. There's the ult out of Bow as a nice attempt from a skirmishes. We'll get the Feather Storm out.
Oh well, a lot of things change, a lot of things remain the same. Bao getting a lot of resources from the side of Wildcats. Ferret, though, has the flash.
Might need to be forced to pop it as a grand entrance, and the Catapult coming down, but the healing is way too much. Bao gets one, and that's the issue. You go in, and the AoE zone control in CC is brutal. A triple kill to the Korean monster in the bot lane.
And as if the tire platings were not enough to feed him, a triple kill will most likely be it. 1,000 gold ahead of his counterpart right now. And as we go back to it, I know I commend No Name for making these plays, but right there you're engaging onto a Maokai with flash. He's got his first item as well. He's quite tanky. You cannot be doing this. Let's see this replay again, because Ferret does something exceptional. So he will get knocked up right here by Ferret, and look at that. The Rakan comes through. Twisted advance on the knockdown from the Rakan. To be untargetable right there and get out of dodge was absolutely beautiful. The fact that Kofte was flanking from the topside river as well didn't allow Azir to get any shenanigans going into this river fight as well. What a phenomenal play on the bot side river. You saw the second Ferret got caught. Everyone collapsed for his escape.
That's exactly it. And now you've got Bao on his most played champion of all time in Xayah at 3-0. This guy is so confident. The arrow comes from absolutely nowhere, and that's a very dead Milio. Random picks that one up, and Bisons managed to get something out of nothing.
The longer it travels, the longer it stands, you fool. And I think Ash threw it from somewhere in the bot quadrant of No Name's jungle, which means that Paros had no chance right there. Again, no flash, no heal, no other mobility way to get out of that, especially when he was on the ramp, a very small choke point right there. And Bisons, with that pick, they could be securing themselves a second dragon. It is going to be the case. Again, having these dragons stacked up, we're going to see what's going to be. The soul as well is so good for them, because they can stall for time all they want. They have so much scaling for themselves. Talking about scaling,
certainly an attempt at the top side destroy, taken pretty low. The ignites and thrown down. Both top laners left at about 10% HP. But remember, with the Hallowed Mist down, it means Murrin gonna get locked down and taken down. Ferret picks it up.
That was
just
kind of like
plant food now.
That was like a Zillion bomb, you know? That the little guy is there. You know that you're not escaping it. Ferret just walked up, cued him in the face, and was like, yeah, I'll just let my minion kill you off. Nothing you can do.
It was an honorable 1v1 until it wasn't. And then Ferret comes in and goes, mine now.
You can't fight these little aliens, unfortunately.
I mean, no. Have you ever, sorry, complete tangent here, but have you ever seen Little Shop of Horrors?
No.
Great movie, great musical. It's by the composer did a lot of Disney musical stuff, Alan Menken. But there's a song in there about the movie's about the musical's about like a man eating plant effectively. There's a great line in there about sure looks like plant food to me. And every time I see Maokai start to get fed, I just have that song running through my head the entire time.
Oh, Maokai is kind of like a man-eating plant. He's like a man-eating
That's kind of what I'm saying,
tree,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
You see, exactly. You see the concept that it
I see
actually
the
makes sense.
reference,
It
I see the
wasn't that
reference.
much. You see, again, it would have been better if you actually knew the musical, in fairness. So, you know, I'm aware that kind of didn't go as well as it could have done if that one had worked out. But Herald started up. Ferret.
Okay.
What have you got?
Eyes on Kofte. He doesn't have TP. He's all the way to the both side of the map, and Arrows flying in. Arrows had to flash that one and ult himself. My God, this Milo is quaking right now on the rift. Wherever Paris
Poor
goes,
kids getting attacked from everywhere.
yeah, wherever Paris goes, they're literally bullying him, and this is just going to be Bisons with pure numbers advance to the top side river, just taking control. And I'm just going to say right here, I'm a little bit disappointed. Wildcats, they'll be throwing seeds in there to see what's happening, but that's all they can do. They can just look while Bisons are taking the entire map. Second Rift Herald theirs, two dragons down as well. Bao is gonna chip over, gets the mid lane tower as well. Pretty good for them.
And actually, Tristana to get a massive shove in the bot side. They're actually now up 2 turrets to none. So I think Tristana got the bot lane turret while all that was happening with a little assistance from the Herald that dropped earlier. So that is looking much better in terms of that front, and it's managed to snowball their gold lead pretty heavily ahead. And of course, a fed Tristana on terms of the gold, and a fed Xayah can certainly do a lot of turret damages. Ferret prevents any easy shove topside from the Gwen. I think Kofta's gonna have to hop out the back of the pit, but should be just fine.
Man, it's just a little bit sad when you see players like Powers on a more of like an enchanter role, if you will. It's kind of like seeing Hylissang on Lulu. You never want to see Hylissang on Lulu, right? You want him on something more engaging, more bulky. Powers gets to dictate the map a lot when he's on these champions. Right now on Milio, he has been permanently bullied. They see that champion, they engage that champion. Of course, having Legolas onto the Ashe is just very easy to just constantly throw arrows on the map. And if you catch someone off guard, we'll see the top lane fight actually happening right here. Ferret, of course, is going to be joining Destroy. So Merwin thought he was playing an honorable 1v1, and he'll take the kill.
The 1v2?
But it's still going to be a 1v1.
Yeah, I thought it was just Ferret up there stopping the shove, and no, there actually just was a kill up there. I was a bit busy looking at the mini-map and the Tristana. I know that's sacrilege for a play-by-play, but there we go. And well played by the Gwen and Merwin. Once again, picking a carry champion, and once again, coming up with some pretty nice plays in 1v2s, 2 games in a row.
Yeah, on the other hand side, Destroy has been struggling a little bit. Back in 2023 spring in groups, he did struggle also a little bit in the groups, and then he got unlocked in quarters. But right here, being 1-0 up, if Bisons win this one, and with the Portuguese team being 2-0 in the group, you cannot afford to have a whoopsie early on in group stage. You need to get it back together. You're playing a champion that scales in the likes of Aatrox. Talking about Aatrox.
There's the ult down from Gwen as well. The Infernal Chains come down. Needlework Part 2 does go wide. Has got the Cozy Campfire on his own. Destroy begins to turn around. There's the Halberd Mist down. A bit of a chunk onto Destroy, who's popped the ultimate. Now we're about to see our first 5v5 of the game. Ferret in a bit of danger as he's dragged absolute miles. His plant is being repotted. Apparently, Ascuri tries to get engaged, can't make it happen. And when everybody's on the same screen, you can see Wildcats. That phalanx is pretty damn devastating.
There's 27 seconds for the Dragon, and the Spanish team is picking up a fight for no objective, for no reason on the top side of the map, where most of the vision is Wildcats' vision. Look at all the blue wards towards the top side of the map. This is Wildcats' territory. Kofte is going to push all the way to the tower. Magico from Noname. Noname has the flash. He has the ult as well. A little bit too far for comfort.
Too far.
But look on the bottom
Does
of the
have
map.
the Heralds.
They started already the Dragon.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, maybe they feel they can't fight it, not without their things they're missing. Has actually overcome to destroy. Now No Name's in danger. Rocket jump comes through, and that forces No Name to flash. They're going to try and get this tier 1 and will do so. Merwin being the recipient. A lot of attention and gold now, and it does give him an individual lead of about 1,000 gold. But of course, you look at the rest of those numbers, and they are all green. 2k for Bao, who's 4-0. 1.5k for Ferret in the jungle on the Maokai.
Yeah, you got the Navori in there for Xayah as well, which means you spike on these 2 items. There isn't much tankiness going on the other hand side for Bisons. And again, it was a little bit of a head scratcher. You were looking for a fight in a choke point versus a Xayah and a Maokai. It definitely is not going to end up being a good trade for you. They lose a member, and not only that, but also every single time Bisons take something off of the map, in this particular instance, it's the top lane tier 1 tower. Then on the other hand side, Wildcats take away Bison's win con, which was that Dragon, as well as feeding their AD carry more gold. Ferret.
Gonna get down the ultimate before he's potentially taken out, but gets a massive Bramble smash. No Name has to get on out and does so. Teleport summoned. And the rest of Wildcats turn up, but with No Name desperately low. I wonder where the Wildcats feel like they've got an opportunity to turn onto this Baron.
Surely you're not gonna do Baron the second it spawns when 5 Spanish team members are around the area. Surely not, right? Not with a Gwen that's actually 1k up, has got 1.5 items, Ignite on the board. No, it was more like, hey, we're picking up another fight, and this is the fun. Every time you're watching a Super Liga team play, again, it's all blood, sweat, and tears. They're going all in. They live for these skirmishes. It literally comes from the region, man. Spanish team, full fiery, playing for skirmishes, another one.
Looking at another one, that's the needlework pop. Ferret taken very low. We'll go in with the Twisted Advance. Destroy throws down the ultimate, but Ferret is desperately low and taken out. There's the lockdown, but immediately deleted as No Name. And now Bao in danger, trying to survive. Would be a huge shutdown. The random picks up. Not so random anymore, but maybe I spoke too soon. Could Destroy hates randoms. Knocks him down. Skirmishes will get a big knockup. Merwin desperately trying to chunk people out with the scissors. Goes get one. Will finally go down in the end. It's a 3 for 3. So many low health bars. Legolas goes down to get ultimate. And the range advantage just isn't there. There's a super mega flare kick. But they will finally be forced to back away. And I'm not even sure who to say came out on top of that.
I think it was a pretty even trade at this point. Let's watch the fight again because it was very interesting. They see Ferret. Every time they see Ferret, I feel like they have something against Trees. They instantly engage on him and they kill him. But look at this. No Name knows that Bao does not have ult. So what does he do first? He ults him first to force out his flash. Once both flash and ult are down for Bao's Zaya, this is it. Everybody dives on top to try and kill them. But do you guys remember Yuumi plus Bruisers? Well, guess what? Milio is the exact same disgusting kind of champion where if you put all of your eggs onto one melee Bruiser's basket, he can carry your fight. And that's exactly what happened when Milio is around, destroys Aatrox. Now, the one wondrous thing about Ashe is that she's a space maker. Once you close down that space between you and her, she goes down. She's very immobile. She doesn't have a way to get out of it. But once she gets to space you with her auto attacks and keep you slowed, it's so difficult to reach her. And that's why we saw Destroy not being able to take that last step and clear out the fight.
Yeah, exactly that. And now Bison's back towards this top side of the river, looking to maybe repeat the successes of earlier. Of course, still got to pull that off multiple times. It's quite tricky to get particularly one of these AD carries down easily with the front line and with the Milio there to bail them out with the breath of life. So they're going to have to be pretty on point with the engages. And random, maybe about a face check, and Aatrox will have a shuffle away, so gets to safety. Now Ferret is being engaged on this tree. Has been pruned a few times, or at least been attempted to a few times. Going very deep, but a Bramble Smash comes out. The arrow is just wide. And now maybe a turnaround comes through. No Name does have the buffer on the flag and the drag, and so gets out to safety. Now Destroy is maybe looking for something more, but won't be able to quite find it as he roamed from the blue side jungle of Bisons, and we're left with no one dying. Just some health bars and the occasional summon apart.
Yeah, he was looking at the flank right there, but his team was not able to pull the trigger to force a fight from the other hand side. But again, I feel like I'm getting deja vu. Talking about deja vu, we're stacking Baron right here. Forget about deja vu. If Bison's back here, they're gonna also throw the hook shot to spot it, and now they're gonna go for the 50-50 Wildcats.
It's just an ARAM by the Baron pit instead. Marin looking for a flank. No Name over the back of this one. Go on in, that's still taken. It would have flipped, but it doesn't matter. No Name now in the cataclysm of his own making does go down. Mirwin has to back away. Look at this side, Destroy desperately low, but the Hex Trigger Shield is enough. It's a double kill already for Bao. Flash for the Bramble Smash, slow. Oscuri goes to get it away, but now Legolas in a 1v3 just isn't heroic enough. This isn't Return of the King. And you're not going to be able to bring down the Mumma kill that is Ferret and Bao together. They get the Baron, they get out scot-free, and they'll take 3 kills on top of it.
Oh, and I'm loving this. And look at the insta-TP for the pressure on the map. Destroy goes back to base. TP's down bot. Think he's going to get to pressure the wave. There's no one on the map right now because Gwen was top side of the map. So you're most likely going to be able to put down that tower too. The win condition from Bisons, which was stacking up dragons, is no longer going to be. There you go. Dragon down, lower turret down, a bunch of kills for the side of Wildcats as well. 7-1 from Bao, 3.3k up. And if we look at this fight again, this seems like a desperation bar. You're taking a 50-50 at this point with the Jarvan, but Ferret does not miss.
Yeah, but it is nearly very well timed from No Name. He's like half a second off, if that. he'd stolen that, maybe we'll be having a very different conversation. As it stands, though, they get the Baron, flash for the Bramble Smash slow, and then the rest of this fight is history.
I feel like Bisons are not taking complete control of these fights in terms of how their composition works. Again, you have drafted a pretty stellar front to back, and I feel like every time I'm looking at the map, Merwin is picking up a beefy fight with someone, meaning that their team has to overextend to try and get onto this target. Your Ashe gets left behind, Azir is somewhere stuck in the middle, Oscure dies before he can get any sort of meaningful engage in. I feel like, again, now it's probably too late because you're about 10,000 gold behind, but you need to slow down these games and try to play for fights. If you want to play skirmishes, I don't think these particular champions are the best to do it with, like the Azirs and the Gwens that scale into the late game. But it's kind of difficult currently. 9,000 gold behind. I don't think it's very easy to turn around, and you're gonna be put in a group 0-2 down with two teams already on 2-0.
And then on top of that, you know, for all that, I agree that Bisons have got a good front to back. On the other side, you're going against a Maokai frontline, double AD carry, backed up by an Enchanter. That is like nearly Giga tier front to back. Like, I understand in some way why Bisons are looking for the picks, because, you know, they've got the Ashe, they've got the Jarvan, partly because the front to backs aren't a guarantee either, frankly, with, you know, this late game scenario now as well, where these AD carries so desperately difficult to deal with. Merwin gets a chunk, will continue to go forwards and does force Kofta low, but not before he takes out that inhibitor turret.
Inhibitor tower down. They still have a bunch of their Baron buff remaining, and they're going to be pushing towards that top side of the map. They're going to use the Maokai ult as a zoning tool, like the Ornn ult is used as well. Scoring.
Oh! What a mega flare kick! Just knocks him straight out the grand entrance. Snuffed before he can even begin. Ferret falls, and now maybe they can look for something more. They finally turn it around, though, as Legolas is dead. But look at Merwin into the backside. That's a pretty damn scary Gwen. They lock the Classicalism in. That's a double kill. Now Paris about to fall, and somehow, some way, they've done it. They've actually done it. Merwin gets a triple kill, and this Gwen cuts them all down to size.
Oh my god, they've got win cons all across the board. If you look at the gold in the middle of the scoreboard, it all says Wildcats, except for one person. Merwin in the top lane is the only one who's ahead and manages to carry this fight through. The second Bao is dead onto this Xayah. You're at a pretty good standing to keep facing forward in these fights. And Merwin, what a fantastic play towards the top side of the map. Oscure goes straight up denied. He's like, this is my big engage. Paris says no instantly. What a fantastic cue. Bao ults backwards, afraid of that engage. And as you can see, Ferret gets left too far forward, destroys on the flank, but he gets pushed out by Merwin, so he can never join. And once Bao puts a step forward, Merwin is there to chop that step through. This is where, again, the Super Liga thrives, in these chaotic big fights. Big props to Merwin for zoning out Destroy from this huge fight right there. This Aatrox never joined. Bao was so exposed, and the second he went down, Bisons win the fight.
He even got to stack up the Conqueror on Destroy, so we could just jump in and immediately delete the AD carries. Rocket Belt and a Conqueror stack queue. Yeah, that sounds like a really fun time to be Tristana or Xayah. It wasn't, for the record. And now, actually, you know, the gold lead is still there. The dragon stacking has been stopped, but it does still turn out there's a few tricks in the bag for Bisons to play yet.
Honestly, that is also so clever going for the Rocket Belt. If you look at the distance that these champions can hold with all the Maokai zoning, and the Milio is just so difficult, right? To get onto the Tristana, the more levels she gets, the more distance on her auto attacks as well. So she keeps getting further and further away from you while being able to hit you. So having that Rocket Belt, having that extra dash into the fight really does help wonders. As you can see, Merwin is ready for the next fight. It's going to be in 20 seconds. Baron and Dragon are going to be spawning. It's going to be third Dragon for both these teams, but Baron could potentially end the game straight away, and Merwin is going to have that pot in his inventory prepping for that next fight.
He knows that all the world's on his shoulders, and he's got an Ashe on his team, and that's her phrase normally. As it stands, we've got that Baron to keep our eyes on, as you stated, but I'm just looking at the other items. That is a 4-item Xayah, a 3-item Tristana. Hell, it's a 3-item Maokai and a 3-item Aatrox. This is not an easy state to be in. At least you managed to get the 3 items complete on the other side for the likes of Random and Legolas, but Destroy maybe caught out a little bit here. Shuffle back and about to be knocked out. Wait, the Gordrinker healing, flashing away, trying to stay alive. Hextrigger comes on through and they just can't quite get him. Silver out now, and maybe the counter engage can be pretty good. Obscure goes in, forces the on. Now Mirage into the backside. Bow desperately open, not down. Gets out to safety. Paris has to flash, and nobody dies.
That was 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 ultimate to try and kill the Aatrox, and the Aatrox did not go down. Destroy is going to go back to base. He has TP. The Baron has been started. Bisons do not have a lot of HP.
He's stolen it! He's stolen it! Baron comes in and breaks a lot of Bison's heart, but what about the fight afterwards? Destroy is teleported in. Legolas desperately trying to kite for Kofta. Just blows him up with a final auto. To the back of the pit they go, but there's just nothing more to be done. No name gets a decent Gordrinker, but he's just not a carry. It's just not happening. It's a quadra kill, and it's a denied Penta. As Destroy throws a thumbs up to his mid laner. But it's still a one-team fight. It's still a stolen Baron. And it's a lot of broken hearts for LVP fans in this EMEA Masters.
That would have been a huge, insane comeback, considering Bisons are 10,000 gold behind. Wildcats pull this out of their pocket. Destroy! We thought he was having a wacky game. He tanked everything from Bisons, allowed his team to come back, allowed Fer to get into this pit, and still the Baron that won them this game. And Wildcats will be tied first with GTZ. What the timeline!
I mean, that game kind of delivered, and in fairness, Wildcats were in charge of that game for the majority of it. Yes, they didn't get that much in the way of the early objectives, but they did get the early towers, they did get the early gold, and they did get the early kills onto Bao on that Xayah. And it wasn't just Bao, of course, it was a team effort, but you could see that double 80 carry comp was just so hard to break down by Bisons.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, they went into this game with a very particular plan in mind, right? Play the front to back. You had the Rakans, you had the Azirs, you had the engage, the disengage, you had the mixed damage with the Ash, with the AP towards the top side of the map. It just did not end up working out because every time Bisons would put their hand forward to grab something, then Wildcats would chop it right off and take even more for their AD carry. I feel like they put all of their eggs in Bao's basket from the side of Wildcats, and Bao has not let them down for an entire year. Every time you give this guy resources, he's going to end up carrying your game. Every time that Xayah stayed alive in any fight, the fight was over for Bisons. Only one time did they manage to create enough chaos to take that down Bao, and this was where the turnaround started happening, but Wildcats stopped these chances straight through.
Yeah, they do. And speaking of, we've got a chance to talk with the victorious mid laner Kofta. It's about to join us, I believe, who had a phenomenal pair of games.
Hello.
Hello.
Good to have you, Kofta. How are you feeling after that? You are 2-0. You're joined now with the Portuguese representatives, and you've had 2 pretty damn strong games. First on your infamous Jace, and then on, I believe, your undefeated Tristana for the year. How has it been so far kicking off this EMEA Masters tournament?
It's been pretty great. Like, we are happy to win. Nothing much happened. I think we could have played better this game, I think. Especially me. I kind of hinted this game, but first game was clean, kind of. So I was happy.
Kofta, I have to ask you a question right here because we were looking at your Jace, and when you guys joined EMEA Masters back in spring, your Jace was undefeated. Like, they would even have to take it off of you or ban it, or you would win the game. You had a 100% win rate on it. Why was this not a Jace angle in this game?
I mean, I'm bored of playing Jace. Like, I don't want to play more, please ban. I want to play different champions, so no need.
That's a giga chat
George with the
answer right
important
there.
questions. That's fantastic. Also just got word from production as well, Kofta, that we have got the denied Penta we can go through. Your Penta kill was denied by, of course, your top lane. We have got that quadra kill to go through if production can show it for us. Because what was going on at this moment? Because obviously Ferret steals the Baron, and then this chaos begins.
I mean, it's Ferret classic. Enemy does Baron and Ferret steals it. Pretty normal for us. And I just get random kills. And last kill, I think I can't get the last kill or destroy dice, and maybe we can't, so it's okay. I didn't really deserve Penta, so I'm not mad at it.
I mean, come
You're a
on,
much
man.
kinder man than I.
You cleaned up the entire fight. I think you deserved the Penta right there. Now, of course, the flaming hot question is that GTZ, a Portuguese org is leading the group together with you guys now. You're tied on 2-0. And this is, of course, going to be your last game of the day. Have you seen the Portuguese team play at all today? And what are your thoughts on the matchup?
They played one game or two? I only see against like
Two.
Neramin team. And they looked kind of strong. I'm looking forward to it, but I think we're gonna win, so nothing much.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, in that case, we've got one final question for you. And I suppose we probably ought to ask this as the reigning champions of EMEA Masters from spring. Are you going to win it again? Is this going to be the 2P?
I mean, yeah, we think we're gonna win, but everything can happen. Like, it's not 100%, or I'm not sure everyone thinks we are the favorites. Like KC looks strong, but actually Mako looks strong as well after the first game. Yeah, we will see.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kofte. We'll let you go and see you later on for your final game of the day.
Thank you. See you later.
The man got bored, man. He got bored of winning on Jace. He's like, screw Jace. What champion doesn't look as strong in Europe right now? What, Tristana? You say that European mid lanes cannot play Tristana very well? I'll show you how to play Tristana very well. He got bored.
I know. And then he was not even happy about how he played despite the near penta. And in fairness, Bisons did have a few moments, right, where it was looking pretty scary.
I mean, the starting right there was great, because what you don't see right here is that Oscure took the flash first from Powers, and then they insta-bullied him. But this is what is incredible about Wildcats. Ferret gets caught right here. The entire team collapses. Mid collapses with Kofte. Bot collapses with Bao and Powers to defend that Makai. Same thing happens here again. They see Ferret. Ferret tries to set up for his team right there, and they get engaged upon for Bisons. Of course, Bisons do thrive when it's mostly chaotic right there, and Bao ends up going down. And again, every single fight that Bisons found the angle to kill Bao early on, they got a big W right there. But once the Aatrox started coming online, and of course Kofte onto the Tristana as well, it becomes a little bit more difficult, because then which carry do you focus first?
I mean, I completely agree. And then they tried to make these picks onto Ferret happen a lot of the times before the fights, and the Radiant Virtue and just the Milio behind it made it so hard to kill off the Maokai. Or if you did, it came at such a damn huge cost, and you end up in this scenario where Bao and often Kofte were allowed to free hit for large portions of these fights, and as Merwin managed to get into the backline a couple times and made things dicey.
And honestly, this was the highlight of the game. Ferret flashing into the pit and stealing. And you heard Kofte, he said, Ferret does what he does. You know, he just dives into the pit and steals the Baron. And it speaks miles, because again, Ferret was a staple member of Wildcats. He wasn't here for spring, but now he's back. He's reunited with the roster. He's played with them since 2019. And he's back for vengeance. He has looked fantastic so far. He was able to get ahead on this Maokai. He was able to set up for his side laners, his bot lane. He fed Bao a bunch of kills. I think it has been an incredible performance, and we're very lucky to have him at EMEA Masters.
It also sets us up so well for our next game, because we're going to have the Wildcats again, but against, of course, GTZ, which should be a huge, huge, huge thing to keep our eyes on. That is going to be so huge to watch, but we'll have to go find out how that goes after the break. We'll see you then.